Welcome to another episode of Amazing Kitchen. Today we're doing our second Q&A. Thank you for your questions. So we will compile questions from this episode as well as from the last episode. Some questions were asked but never had a chance to answer. I'll add it in to this one as well. So let's dive into this. There's some very exciting questions here and I have my laptop in front of me. So excuse me if I'm looking down sometimes to the questions. Our first question is by Roger Yee Fong. He asked, do your seasoning ingredients like soy sauce, oyster sauce contain MSG? How important is MSG in your cooking? I found this question very interesting. I'll try to make it short, but I have some detailed information right here. So I'll start with the background of MSG and then I'll talk about how I use it in my cooking. Okay, so MSG, for those of you who doesn't know what it stands for monosodium glutamate. It's a sodium salt of glutamic acid. It's one of the most abundant natural amino acids on the planet. So it's naturally found in, this is surprising, in tomatoes, grapes, cheese, mushrooms, and many other foods such as seaweeds. So this is very predominant in Japanese cooking. And it has been in use for hundreds of years. So this is not something that is new and that is just discovered, but it's across all dishes in all culture. But it's not mentioned as MSG, but it's naturally occurring in it in certain foods. So as a chef, I'm passionate about cooking. So therefore, I believe in using fresh ingredients for all my dishes. But sometimes, if you don't have all the fresh ingredients, a little touch of MSG will take you a long way. But I don't see MSG as frightening as some people think it is, because there's no extensive study scientifically done where there's a prolonged effect of taking too much MSG. It shows that if too much MSG is ingested, maybe you get a little headache and insomnia and some other symptoms. But there's no prolonged effect that is scientifically studied at this moment that shows that it's bad for your body. Although it gets a lot of attention lately in the news and all around the world, everyone talks about, is MSG good for you or not? But personally, I think I'm not afraid of MSG. A little of it in the dish it enhances the flavor and it brings together all the savory notes in the dish together. So it's mostly used in seafood because the seafood has natural occurring salts in the ingredients. So a little bit of MSG really carries it a long way. I go for brands that I trust when it comes to soy sauce and oyster sauce choosing. So I go for a more quality flavor that will suit my taste rather than I go by price. And besides, I mean, in cooking, I don't use a lot of it anyways. So MSG, if it's used in small amount, it's actually not really, I don't think it's really bad for your health. So I don't shy away from it. I enjoy using it in my cooking, but not in every dish, of course. If you're not comfortable in using it, feel free, leave it out of your dish, but it really makes a lot of dishes taste nice. So if you like cheese in Italian cuisines, especially Parmesan cheese, it has MSG naturally occurring in it also. Tomatoes, grapes, so many other dishes and ingredients that we come across daily, we don't know, but it has. So it's not really, I don't think it's really bad for you as long as it's not taken in high dosage. But of course it applies with anything. If you take too much salt, it's also not good for you. Okay, so I hope I've answered that question sufficiently. Now let's move to the second question. The second question is asked by Farhana Muhammed. She asked two questions. In fact, two very short questions, but interesting ones. So the first one is, how old are you? This one is, I give it some thought. So I say, okay, I look younger than my actual age. So I am a late 70s man. So you get a good idea how old I am. Now the second question is, do you like cute babies like my son? I can say I love cute babies, especially when they look so adorable, you know, with the chubby cheeks, and when they smile at you and giggle. It's just so cute. I love cute babies. And yes, I love cute babies like your son. So that is for sure thing. I don't know anyone who wouldn't like cute babies. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to our third question. Our third question is asked by Sherita's Kitchen, and the question is, how long have you been cooking? I guess I've been cooking for more than 25 years, but I've been around food for much longer than that. So actually cooking, it was only when I was old enough to really handle the knife and the cooking utensils, then I really started cooking. But I think I've been around food all my life. So in and out, I've been touching ingredients, helping out in the kitchen. So that's something, I don't know if you consider cooking, but it was fun for me. So our fourth question is by Adib mouhanna. He asks, how old were you when your dad taught you how to cook? I think about it, I mean, this been quite some time ago. My dad never formally taught me how to cook, but I've always been around him because he's a chef, and I learn a lot by watching and playing with the food while he's cooking. So I think when I was old enough, maybe like 12 years old, when I started able to use utensils in the kitchen, I guess I started really cooking, and then experimenting, asking advice from my dad, watching him, what he did right or wrong, tasting the food that he cooks. So slowly over time, it just happens naturally. It's like I don't think about it, it's just second nature because I grew into it. Yes. So I hope I've answered that question sufficiently. And he has a second question. If you like Shawshank Redemption, what movie you don't like most and why? So this is related to our first Q&A episode, I think 2 months back. So if you haven't seen it, make sure you check it out. So because I mentioned I like Shawshank Redemption, the movie is great, it's a classic, and I still love it. So he asks, what movies do I not like and why? In general, I don't have a movie that I don't like, but I shy away from horror movies because I don't like how it upsets my mood. So I stay away from most horror movies. Although I'm not scared of it, I do watch it, but it's not my first choice. Yeah. Let's move on to our fifth question. Asked by Jade Cummings, what is your favorite thing about cooking? This is a tough question. I guess my favorite thing about cooking is to let my creativity run wild and just go with a feel and cook what I feel like with the ingredients on hand at the moment. And the most satisfying part of it is watching the smile from the guest who enjoys the dish that you prepare for them. Just makes it all worthwhile. All the hours of preparation and cooking, all the hard work that put into the dish that maybe only take 5 minutes to eat, but I think just watching the smile coming out from on their face, bringing out that smile and happiness is what is all worthwhile in cooking. Okay, let's move on to our sixth question by Bernice C. So she asks, hi, do you have a wife or kids? I am married with a wife. I have 2 kids. I have a boy and a girl. My boy is just 2 years old and my daughter is a few months old. So yeah, they're cute and loving, and I love to spend time with them. So juggling cooking and taking care of them is not easy sometimes, you know. That's why you hear some screams and cries and laughter in the background in some of my videos. It's because they're around every time when I'm recording. Okay, let's move on. Our next question is by Jared P. What is your favorite meal to cook? I would say my favorite meal is the big lobster fried rice. If you haven't seen it yet, I think I've answered this in the first Q&A. I'll leave the link in the description so you can refer to it as well, and maybe I'll leave it up here as well so you can just click on it and see how it looks like. So the big lobster fried rice is my first choice, but coming second very closely is recently the dish that I made called the braised duck. It is so tasty. I mean, I think it doesn't show through the videos, but it is so tasty. If you try for yourself, you understand what I mean. The braised duck is really, really tender and nice. So that is my second choice, coming very close from the big lobster fried rice. Our next question is by Darren Burke. Where did you get your passion for cooking? I guess my passion comes from my dad, I can say, because again, I grew up around food, literally. I mean, my dad cooks great dishes every day for us to eat as a family, and it really inspires me and motivates me to also get into cooking. But I didn't realize that until my teenage age, when I realized how much you can do with just a few simple ingredients in your fridge. How you put it together, how you season it, can turn it into this amazing dish that can bring smiles on people's faces. So I guess after I realized that, my passion started growing for cooking, and then I just cannot stop. Okay, our next question by Adam Carter. He said, love your channel, where are you from? Thank you for your question. My background is pretty interesting, so I guess being in food also helps, with my background. So I was born in the Caribbean and then moved to Canada early on in my childhood, and now sharing great recipes on YouTube with people around the world. I guess my background exposes me to dishes from all culture and all walks of life, so it allows me to develop a palate for all sorts of taste, from very spicy to very savory and sweet. So I think it really helps me a lot in my cooking, because the exposure to international cuisines, just some experience that is so great that will help me in all my cooking, in all my dishes that you can see. It also gives me a lot of inspiration and a lot of new ideas for the next and upcoming dish. So yeah. Our last and final question by Yobo's Gaming. He asked, what inspired you to cook? I guess what inspired me most to cook is satisfying my own craving. To be able to cook up a dish, whip it up with little ingredients that you may have around the house, and to be able to just hit that sweet spot. You ever have that craving where you want to go to a certain place and they're closed, or you cannot get there because it's too far away and you have to wait days to be able to get that craving satisfied? To be able to cook for yourself, you can always satisfy that craving at all times, because there's always something that you can cook up easily and at the comfort of your own home. So because you can satisfy your own craving, I guess that's one of the biggest inspiring factor to cook. And watching faces that light up and smile after they try your dishes is also very satisfying. So I hope I've answered your question sufficiently. So thanks for tuning in. This is the end of our Q&A, second Q&A. So if you haven't seen our first Q&A, make sure you click the link above, or I'll leave the link in the description also. And remember to subscribe if you haven't yet, and if you have, hit the bell button. So we have many other playlists that you can check out. If you haven't checked out our salmon filleting series. Make sure you check that out, where I take a whole salmon, I fillet it, I use everything from head to tail down to the bone and skin. So it's quite interesting, no wasting, you know, just making the best use of the whole fish. Okay, until next time, thanks again for tuning in. Thanks for your support. Okay, until next time, bye now.